evening, ladies and gentlemen. You ain't seen nothing yet. That's what investigators have been telling me all day today. It's painstaking matching of various accounts that have been given by the various people involved in this entire case, and after getting all those accounts and the questions that the CBI needed to ask Rhea Chakraborty, her interrogation is now going on for the last 10 hours at the DRDO technical facility. She's inside there. Cars have come and been parked outside. She's, looking like coming out sometime soon, and we've been speculating with these visuals coming out on when she's likely to come out. Every now and then there is a little bit of activity, but we're still waiting. 10 hours and counting. Rhea Chakraborty still inside being interrogated by the CBI. But in the meanwhile, as always, I have big breaking news coming in from my sources, and that breaking news is the scoop that I'm going to bring to you tonight. Scoop number one, Rhea has confessed that the drug chats are authentic. It's from her phone and she's typed them herself. That's what Rhea has confessed to agencies, both the Enforcement Directorate and the CBI. She has said that these chats, which we showed you, all 30 pages of it over the last couple of days, she has confessed that these are all typed by her and the chats are from her phone. Why did she actually delete them? That's not something she's answering. She has, however, contested the conclusion that agencies are coming down to. Yes, agencies, as we reported to you, have asked her the question whether she was in the business of dealing and consuming drugs, narcotics, and she's contesting that. Well, if the chats are hers, if she typed them herself, then the conclusions will be made by investigation agencies, not Miss Rhea Chakraborty. She's contested only the conclusions, not the fact that she wrote those messages herself and those texts herself. Sources are also telling me that what we've seen in terms of the narcotic conversations and chats, it's not all. It's that's Rhea Chakraborty coming. She's just sat down in that car. Can we just have a? Did you get a glimpse? Nizam Bhai, did you get a glimpse of Rhea coming out? And if we can play out those visuals, can we get a close-up of the car and when she came out? We'll try and play out the visuals of her coming out. Okay, everybody's standing by. There comes, this is Rhea Chakraborty coming out after 10 hours or so of questioning, and she's gone and sat in the car, and she has admitted that the chats that were written by her, and she has claimed that these are authentic chats. That's Rhea Chakraborty walking out, and however, she's contested the conclusions that have been made. This, what you've seen so far, ladies and gentlemen, is the tip of the iceberg. Investigators are telling me there are 2 big cartons full of printouts of downloaded chats on narcotic exchanges between Rhea Chakraborty, her brother Showik Chakraborty, and a ring of people. It is, at the moment, the job of the investigators to get the ring and the connections going before any action is taken against Rhea Chakraborty and Showik Chakraborty. But there is 2 cartons full of printouts. That is the big breaking news. Those are visuals of Rhea Chakraborty coming in, and the nexus really runs deep. There are many people involved. Yes, there are politicians. Yes, there are drug dealers. Yes, there are Bollywood A-listers. The names have been kept. They have been coming very close to those facts. And for the moment, these are being kept under wraps so that the trail doesn't go cold. That's what investigators are telling. And this is Rhea Chakraborty, the spotlight on her. Is she going to be called again tomorrow? Is the CBI's questioning over? Not yet. I'm being told that in 2 to 3 days, she will also be summoned by the Narcotics Control Bureau. But right now, it is the CBI which is interrogating. She will be summoned again. We'll have to wait and watch. When is she summoned? But what you've seen so far is the tip of the iceberg, and Rhea Chakraborty is going to be back again at the CBI headquarters, and names of Showik, Rhea with other people in this drug ring is something that is being right now closed, and that is what investigators are working on. So that's the big breaking news. Rhea Chakraborty coming out. This is what we've got you at this moment. In the next 3 days, we are being told the Narcotics Control Bureau will also summon her on this, because the narcotics case is virtually an open and shut case against Rhea Chakraborty. Well, this is the car just leaving from the DRDO guest house, and you could get a glimpse of Rhea Chakraborty in those white clothes that she was wearing. And yes, that's the media out there. It's a melee out there, and she's just left from there after 10 plus hours of investigation and interrogation. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the big breaking news that we are getting you at this point in time. Let me just get in my fellow panelist Shehzad Poonawalla. Shehzad, 10 plus hours and more chats coming in. We had accessed a few chats earlier, and if we can get that on our screen, about Rhea talking with Showik and a close group of people in the SSR household, and these chat, woohoo, me too, that's 1.5 days, and they're talking about SSR has the doobies, right? It's some lingo for some kind of drugs and marijuana, I'm told, and yes, those are Siddharth Pithani and somebody else we don't know, and somebody called Anandi also. Yes, all good. Showik calls in, cool, somebody else responses, and reach you soon, guys, and also tell Ayush to get doobies. Doobies, I'm told, is slang for marijuana, which they use. Well, that's the conversation that's going on, and lots of conversations where individuals have been identified having this conversation. Showik, Rhea, and a whole ring of people. Shehzad, the narcotics case is as good as an open and shut case. Is it going to be long before narcotics becomes the first angle on which Rhea may have some difficult explaining to do?
Well, Navika, first of all, I would like to congratulate you, because it was you who brought out this entire Rhea drug link, and only after that, suddenly there was a spurt of action. And you also saw, if the echo can be corrected in my ear, you know, it was only after this drug link that we saw that an entire massive Maha-Aghadi of a PR machinery, Bollywood and other nexus came into force to actually protect accused number one. And now what I can only say is that, you know, Rhea's entire attempt to cover up, the interview looked less like a girl in PR and more like an accused number one needing some very bad PR. But, you know, bad PR can't stand in front of good journalism, Navika.
Well, interviews were offered to many people. I was also offered the interview, but I thought it was more important to get to the story rather than PR interviews. That's never been my style. But Tehseen Poonawalla, very, very tough questioning going on. PR not really working in favor of Rhea Chakraborty, as more and more chats on drugs surface involving Rhea and her brother Showik.
Two very brief points, Navika ma'am. First of all, congratulations. It is your exposure that has led to the exposure of Sandeep Singh, the man who produced Narendra Modi's biography and very close to Devendra Fadnavis by pictures. So Devendra Fadnavis and Narendra Modi must be investigated in this drug ring. And second thing, man, CBD oil is not illegal in India. It is very much legal.
Rhea Chakraborty was also asked one question in the interrogation, and it's a very important question that she was asked. The question was a simple one. Had she broken off with Sushant, or was she still in a relationship? And the simplest of those questions was something Rhea could not answer. She wasn't sure whether she's broken up, because if she's broken up, then why did she go to the mortuary? And if she's not broken up, what was her chat to Mahesh Bhatt all about? She's tied herself in knots on this one. Well, but they'll need more than this to prove anything against Rhea. So interrogation is going to continue. That's what we are being told at the moment. But at this moment, I just think, before we speculate some more on this entire issue, it's best to get the biggest legal mind on what he thinks about this entire case. And I spoke to Harish Salve. Harish Salve joining us on Direct and Exclusive. Hello and welcome to this special edition of the News Hour. And tonight we have a very special guest with us. The well-known legal eagle, the man who knows everything, former Solicitor General and the celebrity senior counsel of the Supreme Court, and the man who now prefers to spend more time in London, the man who represented India at the International Court of Justice at The Hague. Harish Salve joining us this evening. Happy to have you on the show, Mr. Harish Salve. And today, India is looking at many things that are going on in the virtual courts. Even as we are talking about contempt cases, the biggest criminal case, high-profile criminal case, is also in the courts. What do you think about both these issues? First, let me come to the Sushant Singh Rajput case. And the whole thing started with the jurisdiction problem, which went to the Supreme Court. What do you think about the differences of opinion between the Bihar police and the Mumbai police?
It's unfortunate the way the matter played out the way it did. And while the investigation is still going on, I do not want to say anything beyond saying that the Bombay police has not covered itself in glory. Whatever else it did, putting that Bihar police officer in quarantine was unfortunate. And that is unrelated to whether there was a homicide or whether it was a suicide. Secondly, the fact that for such a long time there has been only an inquest does create certain concern where the parents are in anguish and have filed complaints. I have not studied the legal nuances of on what basis it went to Bihar. But the moment it reached Supreme Court, without reading the papers, I was reasonably certain that if Bihar agrees to a CBI investigation, it will end up with the CBI. Because ultimately, we have to realize if a life has been lost, doesn't matter who it is, it has to be investigated. And wherever there is a concern that it is not being done properly, and the people involved are such as could have access to the corridors of power, if one may use that general expression, our Supreme Court has been vigilant. So without reading the papers, I was reasonably certain. In fact, had a little wager with a friend here saying, I don't know what's being argued. What I can tell you is this will be with the CBI.
Well, I want to ask you, Mr. Harish Salve, the whole process started with the discovery of the body of Sushant Singh Rajput on the 14th of June. Within hours, we had the Mumbai police confirming that this was a suicide, and within minutes of that, the Maharashtra Home Minister came out and also declared it a suicide. Do you think without even a preliminary investigation in an unnatural death, it is right for the police or the Home Minister of the Maharashtra government to have given that declaration?
Let's take the second point first. I have argued this before a bench of 5 judges. I don't know whether Justice Mishra is retiring, whether they will have time to deliver judgment. The court requested me as an amicus to assist them when Azam Khan had made certain comments on a UP investigation, and my firm view was collective responsibility of a union cabinet or state cabinet. Each minister is responsible for the affairs of the state. And a police investigation into crime is a function independent of the state. The police commissioner does not report to the Home Minister, and he should not. We have to draw a distinction between police dealing with law and order problem. If there is a riot, if there is likelihood of a protest march which may turn violent, etc. Those are matters which have political overtones. Dealing with public protests, dealing with riots, dealing with other situations of law and order. Of course, the police and the state government work hand in hand. The police has to be completely independent of the state. I don't know on what basis ministers make statements. They have no right to call for any records. They have no right to check what the police is doing. So these kind of comments by ministers only help to muddy the waters. And in fact, if at all, raise eyebrows over what is being done. And in today's India, the concern over political interference in these matters is so genuine and so serious that the moment a minister makes a statement, it makes one wonder why. Coming back to the first, here again, the police have a habit of shooting from the hip. Nowhere in the world will you see police making random statements like this. If you ask any police person anywhere else, they would say, we are investigating the matter, until they are in a position to make a firm statement. The concern is, and in these matters, we have to always remember, the fairness of an investigation also must be transparent. Those of us who are looking at an investigation, we must feel that what has happened is fair and transparent and independent. If the police within hours, minute, make statements like this and then says, now we are investigating, are we not likely to feel that the conclusion at the end of the inquiry will be something to support the opening statement? So you compromise yourself by saying things like this.
So that's the precise point I want to focus on. And I want to ask you, Mr. Harish Salve, the scene of crime. Visuals came out. These were visuals not authorized and given out by anybody. Obviously, there wasn't any news channel allowed there. But visuals were leaked. Visuals of the dead body were leaked. Visuals of the room where the body was discovered were leaked. They were all present online. They had been leaked by somebody who was there in the room clicking these pictures or videos. Most of the visuals that came online over the last 74 days since this 14th of June showed pictures being taken from one side of the body where the ligature marks on the neck weren't really visible. And the compromise of the scene of crime, of course, was visible in those photographs and videos to everybody else. Yesterday, we got two pictures that were taken by the sister of Sushant Singh Rajput from another angle, which was the angle from where we've so far not seen any pictures that were leaked. I want to ask you, Mr. Harish Salve, if these pictures leaked on the day the body was discovered, shouldn't the police have investigated the fact that where this leak came out from? For 74 days, they haven't investigated that. Then is it okay for us to presume that they may have been leaked by the police itself to once again support the theory of suicide which they had presented already and the minister had presented? And now the new visuals that came out show another angle where the ligature marks are not continuous. There are two layers and there are other scratch marks and a big wound which is visible. What do you make of these visuals and the way they've come out?
Let's take a step back, Navika. Why should any photographs have been published whatsoever? If photographs have been published, they were either taken before the police arrived or they were taken when the police was present. If they were taken before the police arrived, it's a very serious matter, because that means somebody was present at that place and was taking photographs. That person would have been the first person to be questioned by the police. But that's not so, or nobody has suggested that, which must then logically mean that they were taken when the police was there. Because once the police arrived, the body was removed. If they were taken when the police arrived, that is a very serious breach. And I feel an independent FIR should have been registered to find and arrest the police officer who has leaked those photographs. See what is going on today. TV channels are showing the evidence even before the CBI possibly has access to it or is still processing it. This case is being investigated on the small screen. We have made a complete mockery of our criminal investigation system, and we have only one agency to thank for this, the Bombay Police. They seem to have absolutely had no control over what was going on. Either they were leaking or they were allowing people to leak. Both of them are equally serious lapses. If the Home Minister had legitimately to comment on the matter, he should have commented on what steps he is going to take to make sure that the working of this police is stopped. Because there's another dimension to this. Today, there are serious allegations being made against that young lady. Maybe they are true, maybe they are not true. But assuming 1 in 1,000 chance also that they are not true, her reputation is damned. And if they are true, they are such serious matters, why are they coming out in public domain before even the investigating agency has right to fulfill? Because you don't realize there is a causation link. There are people involved if there is a crime being committed. The moment you announce that I have this information that this lady did that, and she was in touch with somebody, that person goes underground. Or if there is any evidence, that person will delete a file, he will break up his phone, he will do whatever he has to do. So this is the danger of premature publication of evidence. I don't know when this nonsense will end in our country. I have never seen this anywhere.
But
Tell me another jurisdiction where this kind of a circus goes on.
But Mr. Harish Salve, you say that everything is being investigated on the small screen. Mr. Harish Salve, I want to pose to you the converse question. If it wasn't for facts that we have put out over the last 2 months, maybe nothing would have been investigated anyways. Nothing would have gone to the CBI in the first place. These questions would not have arisen and taken the notice of this entire country, which is saying what's going on. And you call it a circus. This circus wouldn't have happened because they would have declared this is a suicide. End of story, file closed, move on to the next case. So I'm asking, and the dilemma for me also as a journalist was that I've got 2 visuals of a dead body. We refrain from showing these visuals on screen simply because these visuals can be disturbing to some viewers. But in this case, where the whole debate is whether it was suicide or whether it was a murder, this was an important piece of evidence which had been buried. And you said the police should have investigated, they didn't do that, which was why it was important to bring this back into the public domain. Do you think we were right in doing so or not?
Navika, you asked me what I thought was a question in the conduct of Mumbai police and where the leaks had come from. My answer wasn't that one. In a functional system, the media should stand behind when the investigation goes on. And that's why I said, if today the Bombay police find itself pillory, well, it deserves to be pilloried. in the facts of this case, why did the media investigate? My only answer is thank God somebody did. Otherwise, this would have walked away with the stories which the Bombay police were trying to give in the first 2 days. So the answer to your question is, seeing what the Bombay police was doing, thank God you investigated. Otherwise, this would have gone without detection with a glib story which was given by the Bombay police within a very short time of their having discovered the body. So the police failed, the media rose to the challenge. But if you're asking me about the police, because we get very defensive about, oh, Bombay police is being blamed, well, in a case like this, they deserve to be blamed. If they are so particular, they must do a proper job. They must, first of all, make sure their own people don't leak photos. See, this is what happens, run with the hare, hunt with the hound. They want to leak the photos to support their own half-baked theories. And then when it blows up in their face and the media picks it up and says, sorry, you're lying, they say you are interfering with our investigation.
So Mr. Harish Salve, there is another question. These days, social media gives judgments before courts do.
No, I only want to add one thing.
Okay.
It is better that you investigate than nobody else investigate. But there is a great limitation when you investigate. When you make things public, the chain of evidence may get lost somewhere. Now, should you not investigate? Well, the Bombay police is doing nothing. At least you brought the country's focus on this event. So yes, you did the right thing, absolutely. But it's at a price. And that price is attributable to the lapse of the Mumbai police.
Absolutely, I agree. But the fact was that if we hadn't brought out these facts,
Correct.
The whole issue was, would there be justice in this case? Some people came out and said, national time is being wasted on somebody who wasn't even so famous. National time is being wasted when there are other challenges. I want to ask you your opinion, because these days, as I said, judgment comes faster on social media than it comes in courts, and people are vilified if they raise the issue. People are vilified if they don't ask the issue. Do you think this was just about not a very big star, or do you think this is about a system that's rotten?
I think the issue which pains Indian democracy is not whether he was a big star or a small star. Every human life is precious. The poorest man on the street is as precious as the richest billionaire. So that's the wrong question to ask. The right question to ask is what the media has been banging on about is the way in which the guardians of the law become the violators of law. The Bombay police is acting the way it is acting entirely on its own, or are they being steered to act in a particular way? And that raises far-reaching questions for a democracy. The fairness or unfairness of an investigation. If there is a riot in which a poor man is killed and the police doesn't investigate, you people make as much noise saying, why is this not being investigated? So it's not the rich or poor or a good actor or a bad actor. If they had investigated properly and with appropriate evidence come to the conclusion it was a suicide, that would have been an end of the matter. It is the fact that the Bombay police has behaved so suspiciously, which means that your apparatus for protecting law and for protecting your and my life is in the control of certain people. Now, the moment that doubt comes up, you question the edifice of rule of law, you question the edifice of a democracy. And that is the serious issue, which is the underlying problem which the media has been screaming about, not because he was a big actor or a small actor.
So, Mr. Harish Salve, there has also been questions that have been raised by the accused number one herself and by people in the media who think they are the conscious keepers of the nation, who've come out and said that WhatsApp chats of the accused number one have been leaked. The fact is that these chats had been deleted by this person in question, and these chats also show some sort of transactions on procurement of drugs, on passing on of drugs, narcotic substances, also mixing something in Sushant Singh Rajput's tea, coffee, how many drops to put in, how many doses to give. I want to ask you, in this also, putting out these kind of chats, raising questions about the acts of somebody, is it tantamount to privacy? Or is it an investigation that is being ignored by the investigation agency, which was the primary one, Mumbai Police?
You see, yes, it is an invasion of privacy, but then every investigation is an invasion into privacy. This is not investigating somebody's personal life to comment on their personal morality. This investigation is in the context of what there is a feeling could possibly have been a homicide. And the context of the fact that the Bombay Police's conduct has been, to put it very mildly, somewhat questionable. It is in that context that the media has been running an investigation saying, Bombay Police keep saying this is a suicide, they keep pursuing only an inquest, they haven't registered an FIR. Look at what we have in our hand. So, yes, it's an invasion of privacy, but then every investigation is an invasion of privacy. Normally, these investigations should be private in a functional system. When the system becomes dysfunctional, everything falls apart. So, yes, if there is evidence which there is concern is not being, or worse, or is being brushed aside by the investigating agency, you want to put it out there to make sure that somebody is confronted with it and has to deal with it. So, that's why I said this whole thing becomes a circus when the rule of law gets derailed by the guardians of the law.
And the question about the pictures of the body itself and the ligature marks that never came to light. Again, yes, self-regulation would have prevented us from putting this out on a normal day. But is it justified when this homicide versus suicide theory is the issue under question?
See, you're absolutely right. I would characterize your investigation not into the death, but into the cover-up of what is possibly a homicide. Now, viewed from that perspective, all the channels have been trying to say, and this is the problem. Bombay Police rushed ahead and said, we accept it's a suicide. So channel upon channel is saying, what about this evidence? What about that evidence? So it's in that context all this is coming out. Those ligature marks showing the photographs of a corpse are things which you don't do on TV channel. But why are you doing it? You're doing it to say, and in the face of this, is the Bombay Police still holding on to its position? Or in the face of that, is Bombay Police still holding on to its position? So this has really been, I see it more as a challenge to what Bombay Police has been up.
Also, Mr. Harish Salve, in your long career as a lawyer, as somebody who knows every nuance of law, is there a post-mortem report which is possible, which doesn't have the time of death on the report that is submitted?
Very odd. To put it very mildly, very odd. See, in fact, look at it the other way. When you are investigating what could possibly be a homicide, means you will file a charge sheet, and at some point you will bring charges. How will you bring charges if the basic evidence is so deeply flawed? For an accused, your first challenge will be, how do you place reliance on this post-mortem report? You don't even know when it was done. I mean, sometimes, I have really wondered, and I have appeared on both sides of the fence, I've appeared for accused, I have at times appeared for the police. Sometimes you really wonder, do they deliberately plant landmines so that their case blows up somewhere along the journey, or are they that incompetent?
Isn't that in simple language called collusion?
It is. See, the trouble is when the credibility comes into question, then a flaw or a mistake does start looking like possible collusion.
But Mr. Harish Salve, you've seen this case 74th day today. With your experience and the way you've seen the Mumbai police acting in this, can you put it past the Mumbai police, the allegation of collusion and connivance in this entire case? Because they called in a lot of witnesses, 56 people, but they seem to be, like a fashion parade of the big names. And I don't know. There have been all sorts of allegations on the Mumbai police. It's nexus with the underworld. It's nexus, all the Bollywood films are made out of the Hafta collection that goes on. I just want to ask you, in this particular case, and I don't want you to mince your words, because today there are people in India who are very angry about this case, very charged up about this case. I want to ask you fairly and squarely, is the Mumbai police looking like conniving or being part of the conspiracy in the Sushant Singh Rajput unnatural death case?
See, I have one, and that obviously weighed into the Supreme Court, one very surprising feature. You conduct an inquest for weeks without registering an FIR. Inquest is to ascertain cause of death. The moment, if it is a suicide, it's an open and shut. Your inquest should have been over in 3 days or 4 days. If it requires so much investigation and the parents are suggesting that there is a likelihood of murder, you find something suspicious, you register first information report. A first information report is only somebody telling you that a crime has been committed. It doesn't mean that the crime has been committed. An FIR can lead to what we call a closure report, saying we've investigated, there was no murder. He died of unnatural circumstances, but suicide. In fact, suicide itself is an offense in India. I don't know why they are not registering an FIR. And now, then the thing starts sliding down. You have not registered an FIR. There is all this evidence which is being leaked. Then the media channels are getting hold of stuff which they are throwing at Bombay police. The Home Minister is giving them certificates. A impression is inescapable that perhaps Mumbai police is trying to protect somebody.
That's a very big takeaway from what you're saying. And I want to ask you, in February, the family expected something wrong was on, and they did alert the Bandra DCP, who was the area in charge. Today, the official stand of the Mumbai police is they asked them to give the complaint in writing, and they didn't do so, and therefore they couldn't do anything. I want to ask you, Mr. Harish Salve, the family gives unofficial WhatsApp message. They don't send even a constable to check with Sushant Singh Rajput. Yesterday, Rhea Chakraborty, the accused number 1, her father goes and says, they are under some sort of a threat and they need police protection because there is media circus going on outside or whatever. They are immediately given police protection. What do you make of this?
Where they want to, they don't need written complaints. Our law is very clear. Wherever a police officer has information of the commission of a cognizable offense, he is to act. Where is this question of giving written complaints? I don't know which rules these people function. They want to push off people. They want to put people off. So you give these kind of silly answers, saying you give a complaint in writing. A father is coming and saying, my son is a actor, and the way he is behaving and the circumstances around him are worrisome. And then this person then is found in the circumstances in which that unfortunate young man was found. The first instinctive reaction should have been, likely to be a murder, or at least can't be ruled out. And then when the evidence was seen in the manner in which it was seen, an FIR should have been registered. In fact, one of the things which went against the state of was that you're still conducting an inquest. You think that did not escape the attention of the judges, the overtones of what they were doing? And that is why the Supreme Court said, let the CBI investigate, because let not be a feeling that those who are rich and powerful, if be they senior people of Bollywood or wherever, have some kind of apprehension about their being investigated, the police is going soft. I'm not saying it is going soft. I'm saying 9 points in this is the public perception that the rule of law is rigorously enforced. I mean, in United Kingdom, you know Tony Blair's, when he was Prime Minister, one of his sons was in a bar brawl. He spent the night in a jail. So, that's how the law has to be enforced.
Mr. Harish Salve, there are also many liberals who today are worried about a media trial that's going on, and the accused number one is being presumed to be guilty even without the investigation or the trial commencing. I want to ask you, after these WhatsApp chats, after these evidences that have been put in the public domain, after the presence of mediums like the social media, and we've seen it in many cases, the Arushi Talwar case. We've seen it earlier on in other cases where there have been media trials. Even the Prime Minister on the Rafale case was called Chaukidar Chor Hai. Wasn't that a media trial? Why this sudden awakening on the issue of rights of accused and the media trial that's going on?
See, media trial is wrong. And as a theoretical proposition, nobody can contest that. In the Rafale case, it was a political game being played. It was a political attack on the Prime Minister. And today, unfortunately, the system of blogging, Twitter, and your various other social media has given the power of publication to every individual who has a point of view. So it has very serious portents for how this is disrupting society at times where it should not be. But the problem is, if the system was functional and you were breaking into Mumbai police to get evidence only to sensationalize, I would have said they should go to court and get an injunction on you. But if the system has turned dysfunctional, as I see it, what you and your channel, what others are doing is basically saying, what is the Bombay police up to? Now, that's very different from invading somebody's privacy. Now, in that process, your process is not as carefully regulated and as nuanced as a criminal investigation should be. Your process depends upon mobilizing public opinion. And that's what you're doing. And if you hadn't mobilized this public opinion, the matter perhaps may not have even gone this far. But the downside of working this on mobilizing public opinion is that reputations get tarnished. Now, that's a necessary downside. But if you weigh and balance, I am against media trial, but here it is the Bombay police which is on trial, really. Yes, you are exposing all bits of evidence which the Bombay police, according to you, is deliberately hoodwinking. So in that process, of course, the evidence you are putting on record will affect reputation. But the primary attack is on the failure of the police, or worse, the failure of the system to ensure a fair investigation. So it's a price we have to pay.
So Mr. Harish Salve, I want to ask you now, with the presence of narcotics, procuring, usage, giving in an underhand manner, do you think this case really has more twists and turns that were than were?
I think what has happened on this narcotics, and I have strong views about it. This chalta hai culture in India must stop. सबको पता है, सब करते हैं, सब चलता है. You know, this culture we have to now get past at some point. Our country has to take a call. Either you go the way certain states in the United States are, or you have Netherlands, or you have some countries which have legalized the use of certain narcotics and banned the use of others. Or we rigorously enforce this law. Yes, users are not punished, but once this comes out, there has to be a fear if you are a user of narcotics that someday you'll be named and shamed. And your supplier should know that someday if his name leaks, he's in serious trouble. So I think this matter needs to be followed to its logical course.
Including application of the narcotics acts that are...
Yeah, NDPS has to be applied in its rigor. See, again, if somebody is a user, if somebody is found with a small quantity, you do not take action. Also, if there is only a WhatsApp message without any concrete evidence, that may not be sufficient evidence. But that is a lead. You can investigate from that person, whom did you buy from?
I want to ask you, is this a case now for continued interrogation by the CBI without arresting Rhea Chakraborty?
I would say let's bring the matter back on rails. I think the CBI is got into it seriously, rolled up their sleeves, the nitty-gritty of investigation. Speaking for myself, I'm not a great votary of arresting people for the sake of arresting people. Human rights and human liberties are very important. But I am certain that at the appropriate time, CBI will call her, and CBI style is they will call her, they will interrogate her, and if they are not satisfied with the replies, she won't go home.
She's at the police, she's at the CBI office answering questions today. After the kind of evidence that we've spoken about, and I'm sure investigation agencies have more, what's your gut feel?
Whatever may come out at the end of it, if she has good explanation, she will give them to the CBI. But I have seen some of these CBI officers in operation. I have worked with some of them. Believe me, they are not an easy bunch to fool. So they are not like the average police person you see in a Bollywood movie. They are extremely clever. And I mean, now that the case is over, I can tell you in one case, they asked a very senior person very politely as to how he had applied for a telecom license. He says, I did it online. They moved the computer to him and said, can you show us how? So, you know, these people are very sophisticated. They are not heavy-handed. And I won't be surprised if they are even video recording her interrogation, so that she doesn't turn around and say that she was badgered. But yes, they will go on and on, turn by turn, systematically. They would have done their homework. And if she can't satisfy them, I don't think she will be sleeping in her own bed tonight.